Welcome to the October 25th episode of the Locked On Leafs podcast. I'm Mike DiStefano with David Morassutti. Leafs travel to the Sin City and put up a sinful performance, Dave. Downright terrible. We're going to break it all down. Phil Kessel, though, becoming the Iron Man, or at least tied the Iron Man streak in that game, and also had his 400th goal taken away. We'll chat about that as well. And just when you think it can't get any worse in Vancouver, it does. We'll talk a little bit about that Gong Show today as well. All that more coming up on today's edition of Locked On Leafs.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Leafs podcast, one-stop shop for all things Leafs. I'm your host, Mike DiStefano from TSN 1050 Toronto Radio, also known as Al's brother on TSN's Overdrive and TSN 1050's Leafs Lunch. Joining me, it's my co-host, Dave Morassutti from Sportsnet, also a writer for the NHLPA. Locked On Leafs is a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast, so be sure to subscribe for free wherever you get your podcast from. You can also now catch us on video on YouTube. Just search up Locked On Leafs on YouTube. Hit subscribe and get new videos and new content directly to you guys each and every day, Monday through Friday. That's 5 new episodes each and every week, all Leafs, all the time. We'll venture a little bit away from the Leafs towards the end of this thing because we got to chat about what's going on in Vancouver because it's just it's ugly. It's ugly.
That alarm that went off during your intro was foreshadowing. It could not have been more perfect.
Yeah,
when your alarm
there's
went
an
off.
alarm system going on in Vancouver, and that's exactly what that just was. So we'll certainly chat about that in just a little bit. But before we get into all that, Dave, we got to break down that performance we saw last night. I got to tell you, not what I was anticipating. We had just talked them up so good. It's like, okay, they're on the road. They started off the road trip well with a win in Winnipeg. It was a complete game. I thought they played extremely well. And then they show up to Sin City and seemed like somebody was up late and got the Vegas flu. And by somebody, I mean everybody not named Ilya Samsonov.
Yeah, this was. As you saw, as soon as that game started, the Leafs just did not have it. They
Oh,
right from the start, and that could not have been like what was it, 8-1 shots through the first
oh
10
yeah.
minutes of the game. Like I was surprised that game was anywhere close. I mean, the only surprise was the fact that Ilya Samsonov did not just have the worst dehydration just because of how much work he had in that game. Like it was just it's terrible. Like there's really no excuse for it either. Like you're on the road, you had the day off, you come into Vegas, you're off, you had great momentum, and then no excuse. It's just you just did not show up, and that's seen this far too many times from this team.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, the tough starts have been a concerning trend, I guess you could say, for Toronto. And they weathered it through the first 10 minutes, I guess. And we're only down 1-0 after one. But it's not what you want to see. And it's something that I think the Leafs have to certainly do better and try and start on time because this is now the 5th game out of 7 that they've been scored on first so far this year. So they only have 1 goal or the first goal in 2 of the 7 games they played so far. So it's not great when you're chasing the game, each and every time. So Toronto definitely needs to start playing way better to start games. It's just plain and simple. Needs to happen. They also need to play a lot better in their own zone. I mean, I don't know what the hell was going on defensively. They seem to be running around like chickens with their heads cut off, and it seemed like every other second there was a turnover or there was a counterattack the other way. A guy was splitting the defenseman. Like it just seemed like Vegas did whatever the hell they wanted to do in the offensive zone, and Toronto just couldn't defend anything.
Yeah, that was the tough part. When you're if the Leafs cut down on their turnovers, this defense would not look as bad as it does. Because when you do yourself no favors when you're constantly giving the other team multiple opportunities to take advantage and leaving yourself flat-footed as many times as the Leafs did. Like, if I'm Sheldon Keefe, that's got to be the biggest thing in video sessions. Like, what led to this giveaway? Why are we being so careless? Why are we not being focused and realizing, okay, if we actually, you know, play with a little bit of focus, because I think it's also focus too, and not getting overwhelmed. Like Vegas played extremely well. They're very
They came ready
structured,
to play.
relentless. But the Leafs got overwhelmed, and that should not be happening. There should have been, film sessions saying this is what Vegas likes to do. This is what we need to do to limit them. I put a lot of this also on the coaching staff because that Leafs team just did not look prepared for what Vegas came out with.
No, they didn't, but they also, this isn't the first time that we've seen the team
No.
show up late to a game, right? So it's is it on the coaching staff partly, but like it's also on the players and but also like I don't know, man. That's it's the blue line to me is still going to be a question mark. We don't know what the status of Jake Muzzin is going forward. Justin Hall just ain't it, man. Like I don't think that guy can play top 4 minutes. I really don't think he can do it on an effective, consistent basis. So like they may need to make a move or something to improve that blue line because I don't think you can really keep trotting that guy out there literally for like 22 minutes a game. I don't know what the stats counters, what they were counting, I suppose, in Vegas, because according to NHL.com, they only had 7 giveaways on the game. They had far more than 7 giveaways. Like,
Yeah.
far more than 7 giveaways. So I don't even know what the hell, like, who was keeping track of what stats out there. But because if you look at the takeaway numbers out of like the giveaway takeaway numbers out of Vegas, they had, let me count quickly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 takeaways. So 14 takeaways by Vegas plus 7 giveaways by the Maple Leafs. I guess that what it means that's 21 turnovers by Toronto in that game. So I guess that would make more sense when you add them up entirely. So but yeah, that was just brutal to me, and every single time it was costly. Samsonov had to bail them out early. I mean, this could have been a 3-4-1 game after the first 10 minutes, realistically. And you know what's really upsetting is that they got bailed out too. Like they got bailed out when they challenged that play, which kudos to the video staff for making that challenge, obviously, and getting that goal taken off the board but then allowing another power play goal like 30 seconds later.
Yeah, it's just like you
Well,
wasted
yeah,
all
you
that
wasted
time.
your challenge. Wasted your challenge.
You ruined Phil Kessel's night. Are you happy? Are you
And that,
happy?
yeah, you took Phil Kessel's 400th goal away and then allowed a goal 30 seconds later, anyways. The hell's the point?
Like, Sheldon Keefe was furious. I could tell he was just so mad about that too. But yeah, like it's focus. It's really it comes down to effort and focus with this team. If you
Yeah,
want to simplify things, I don't like simplifying things too much. But in a game like this, it's quite clear what the issues were in this game.
yeah, yeah. I think I would agree with you. And why don't we get to some of those issues when we go through the good, the bad, and the ugly on the other side? But first, Dave, why don't we hear a word from one of our show sponsors?
Yes, and that is Athletic Greens, something that I've started to use every day because I wanted to, get better control of my immune health, want to have better gut health, more energy, optimize immune system. I'm not a person that likes to take pills and vitamins every day, having to remember which ones I took, which ones I need to take, what time of the day I should be taking them. So that's why I wanted an all-in-one healthy solution. So, what is AG1? With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source, superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, nervous system, your immune system, energy, recovery, focus, and aging. All of those things. As I said, I wanted something to kind of help me get my energy up, especially, in the mornings. When you're watching these Leaf games late at night, you need something to get your day going. So why not just take that one scoop of AG1 to get your day going? And it helps me to stay healthy. It's a lifestyle friendly option whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy free, or gluten free. Contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything, while still tasting good. Supports better sleep quality and recovery, and it provides mental clarity and alertness. It's the one thing with the best things. Athletic Greens uses the best of the best products based on the latest science with constant product iteration and third party testing. Athletic Greens was created when the founder experienced a ton of gut health issues and ended up on a complicated supplement routine to recover, which cost him $100 a day. So he decided to create Athletic Greens after experiencing how difficult it was to create an optimal nutritional routine on his own. So right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. Is just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you 1 year of supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NHL network. Take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Maybe that's what the Leafs need, Mike. They need to get some AG1 into their daily routine.
Potentially, they could get some AG1 into the routine. That would probably be a little bit better for them. Get their gut health going right so that they can start on time, right? Get that immune system going. And also, they're a rather unhealthy group right now. So that would probably help, or maybe help. Speaking of unhealthy, the Leafs did survive a scare last night. John Tavares took a apparently a 97-mile-an-hour slap shot from Rasmus Sandin right off the knee, collapsed on the ice, needed help getting off the ice, couldn't walk, couldn't put any pressure on it, needed help down the tunnel. Thankfully, seemed like it was just a stinger, and he was able to return and play the rest of the game. But that would have been some alarms going off if John Tavares would have really been hurt and would miss some time here for Toronto. Luckily, not looking like that's the case. Just a little bit of a stinger there, and all systems go for JT.
Yeah, that was scary, and it also just shows, I think, JT's commitment as well. Like it looked bad, but he did what he could to get back into that game because he knew his team was still in it. Like that's the thing.
Yeah, they totally were. That's the thing. Like as poor as they played, like it was 1-1 going into the third period. Like they easily could have won that game despite how poorly they played, which in a way I guess you could look at as a positive, I suppose.
I was gonna say
But
we came right to the good, bad, and the ugly with that one.
we can. Like, was it just me though? Like when I first saw it, I didn't see it go off the knee. I just saw his reaction. I thought it hit him up in the head, like based off of the reaction. And I was like, oh no, oh my God, did not just go off his face. And I don't know, did you think that at first, or did
Well,
you see it go off the
I
knee?
just saw the reaction. And you see a slap shot go off. Like, first off, I don't know anybody it's like some guys it hits them and it stings a little bit, but like it catches you in one area and it
Yeah,
doesn't matter how tough you are, you're gonna let out a reaction.
yeah,
No way about it. Like,
yeah,
so that's what I think really happened. And you get concerned because he has had knee injuries in the past, right? That it's concerning to see that, and especially when when you're not expecting it, when it kind of hits you in an area and you're not expecting it to hit you there. It's that was a scary moment, and hopefully he did come back, but hopefully there's no long lasting damage.
Yeah, hopefully not. All right, Dave. That was a good thing that we saw happen. John Tavares returned to the game. Was there anything else that was good from this one that you could pull out of as we transition into the good, the bad, and the ugly from the Leafs 3-1 loss to the Vegas Golden Knights?
I don't want to hear any slander of Ilya Samsonov. This guy is the only one that showed up to this game. He's the only one that kept the Leafs really in this game.
Yeah.
Like, has there like I know he's allows soft goals in certain games, but that I
No,
mean
he hasn't. Honestly, not really.
not since the Washington game, really. If you think about it, like just that was probably the only game where you could criticize his performance. Other than that, like he continues to be steady in the net. He's had to make some unorthodox saves because really he's had to take some unorthodox chances in front of him, and he's had to do whatever he can to keep that puck out of the net. It might not always look pretty, but he gets the job done.
Yeah, absolutely. And Vegas had an expected goals of 4.58 last night in all situations. So, the expectation was Vegas was supposed to score more, and he kept them off the scoreboard, especially that second period where he actually pitched a shutout in that second period. 2.32 goals expected for the Vegas Golden Knights in that period. 12 high danger chances for Vegas in that period alone, 17 scoring chances in that period. So he was outstanding to keep the team in it. Absolutely. I also had him in my good category. I will also give a special shout out, though, to Austin Matthews, who I thought had a really good game. I thought he was buzzing a lot, actually. And he was one of the maybe outside of Samsonov that showed up to play that game. Um, you just look at he was in the offensive zone. He was letting the puck rip anytime he could. He just looked comfortable. There was the one play where a turnover in the defensive or in the offensive zone, and he rushes back and he slides and gets a block essentially on the play. And I thought that he was really combative as well and battling hard. I thought he was going to score that. I don't know how he didn't score that goal on Logan Thompson. Was it there was like that 190-second shift where that first line, I think it was in the second period, just absolutely had the foot on the gas for like 90 seconds. Thought they had scored the goal. Somehow Thompson gets some piece of the puck, goes off the post, and Matthews can't believe it. The guy's just been snake bitten. But last night, for sure, he deserved to score a goal, and unfortunately did not. But I would say that he also had a good game. But outside of him and Samsonov, yeah, I don't know if there was much else that we could really say was really good last night. So what was bad, Dave?
Oh, I mean, there's much to choose from. Um, but I would say the turnovers and the lack of, like being able to clear your zone, get the rush going, sustain pressure in the offensive zone.
Yeah.
Possession was an issue in this game.
Yeah, they definitely lost the possession game. I actually have some stats here that would indicate that being the case. Um, Let me see if I can pull these up here. Whoops. Who's calling me at 9 a.m.? How dare they? Ba, ba, ba. Interesting, actually. Huh. Yes, they lost in shot share, but they actually had more possession time, which is interesting. You wouldn't have thought that based on.
No.
Actually, maybe you would because they had like two shifts where they really were
Di-
pedal to the metal, where Vegas was very much like quick counterattacks.
Mhm.
So I suppose you could see that happening. But in terms of like the shot share, yes, they certainly lost that game. Vegas ended up with especially at 5-on-5, like Vegas was all over the place there, and a lot of them were high danger quality. 19 high danger chances for Vegas last night, which is incredible. You look at the slot shots, 18 slot shots for the Vegas Golden Knights, 17 of which at 5-on-5. So they were just giving up way too much, and that was one of my bads as well. Was just turnovers and poor defensive zone coverage. Like you're giving up 17 slot shots and only on 3 minutes and 41 seconds of ozone possession time. Like, that's insane. The amount of high quality chances that you gave up that Samsonov had to really bail you out on a lot, and to even make it a game really. So yeah, they certainly just didn't look right, didn't look good, especially in their own end, and they didn't play their game. They kind of got taken it to them, and were forced to play Vegas's game, and Vegas is a little better than that at their own game. What was something that was ugly for you?
Ugly was really the whole challenge, and then to get scored on anyways 30 seconds later. That was
Yeah,
ugly because it set the tone for Vegas. That whole sequence. All right, you take Phil Kessel's goal away, we're just gonna get another one because we found a leak in the armor of the Leafs defense, and they exposed the Leafs defense. So that was very ugly.
yeah, dude, it was. For me, it was just like the start to each period. Like, they were just brutal. I mean, the first period right away, like, they were under siege. It seemed like for the first like 10 minutes of that game. But then that happened again to start the second period. And then again to start the third period when their game's tied at one, still within grasp after you've come out and played kind of a poor game, a chance to come out in the third period and try and get this game, win this game, but get it back into your hands, and you just can't do it. It's so upsetting to see. I saw a tweet from David Alter yesterday that said midway through the first period, friend of the show, by the way, David Alter. Midway through the first period, Vegas had a 91% expected goals through the first 10 minutes of the game. 91% expected goals. They ended the game with at 5-on-5 with 59% of expected goals. Yes. So, like, Toronto ended up kind of getting it back on the rails slightly. They had better second halves of the period, but I mean, you got to start on time. And then you look at the third period. That was the most upsetting, I think, just because, again, you look at the situation. It's 1-1, a chance to go out and finally have a good start to a period. You got to think that there was some sort of communication with the team from Sheldon Keefe and company saying, hey, guys, we're still in this one despite how we've played. Let's go out and just finish out this 20 minutes. Let's give it our best 20 minutes we can. And they get scored on 40 seconds into the period, just literally right away, lose the face off. Vegas takes the offensive zone, and Toronto's just swimming in their own end. Can't do that. Brody breaks a stick, and all hell kind of breaks loose. And eventually, they end up scoring. A little tucking a puck away, I guess that was kind of chilling at the side of the net. But they had so many opportunities in that opening period there. Like, Stevenson missed the backdoor feed earlier. Stone had a wide open net that he wasn't able to score on. And then eventually Chandler Stevenson did cash in there. But it was just pitiful and atrocious that their starts to each and every period. It's unacceptable, really. And they got to be better than that when they roll into San Jose on Thursday.
Yeah, they're gonna get the day off today, Wednesday. I expect Sheldon Keefe to be. I don't know.
What does
Pardon?
that day off look like today, you think, as opposed to what it could have looked like if they would have played better? But probably
Well, I
still.
think I think some tea times might have been canceled
I
in
don't
Vegas,
know, man. I don't know. You kind of got to get away. I don't think tea times have been canceled, but maybe not as much time in the casinos, perhaps.
or lounging by the pool.
Yeah, maybe that, but yeah, I just, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just a game, I suppose, and it's a day off work. And when you and I have a bad day at work, we want to go and we want to get our mind off the game by doing some fun things, I suppose. So at the end of the day, yes, I suppose they probably still are getting after it a little bit, but definitely not in as good spirits as they potentially could have been if they would have been able to win this game with a full day in Vegas. But not able to get it done. It was a pretty uninspiring effort. They end up losing the game 3-1, dropped to 4-3 on the year. And the rest of the conference just continues to win games, including the Ottawa Senators. You've got the Detroit Red Wings, who've yet to lose a game in regulation so far through 5 games this year. You've got the Buffalo Sabres, who keep winning games too, rolled through Western Canada and defeated all of them. So, yeah, they're playing some strong hockey right now. The Maple Leafs, not the best. That should hopefully turn around pretty soon. They do roll through California this week, and the California teams are struggling, right? San Jose, not a great team. Anaheim, not a great team. LA, they're a good team, but they haven't played up to par. But these are 3 winnable games. I think Toronto's got to roll into California and get themselves probably minimum 5 of the 6 points. Hopefully they can go a full 6 for 6.
Yeah, you just have to find a way to capitalize on the chances,
Mm-hmm.
simply put. And it's looked better, but it's still not good enough.
All right, let's take one quick break. When we get back, I do want to talk about the Vancouver Canucks because this is just awful what's going on in there. I'm curious to get your thoughts on it. And how much longer of a leash do you think old Leaf fan, former Maple Leaf, Brucey Boudreau has in Vancouver? We'll have that chat on the other side. I'm Mike DiStefano with David Morassutti. You listen to Locked On Leafs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. I'm Mike DiStefano with Dave Morassutti, the hosts here at Locked On Leafs. Hopefully, you've enjoyed what you've heard so far. If this is your first time listening to us, hopefully you've enjoyed it enough that you'll subscribe and come back each and every day. We got new content coming to you Monday through Friday. Typically, they're up like literally basically overnight and for you in the mornings. West Coast trip, we got to record a little bit later because by the time the game's over, it's bedtime for Dave and I, and we got to record in the morning, such as we're doing now. So bear with us on the road trip. Might get content slightly later than typical, but better late than never is what we always say. The Canucks, David, the Canucks. You know, we were kind of talking about how dire of a situation it was last week in Toronto when, the Leafs lost to Arizona, and it was like, oh my God, Sheldon Keefe, his job's got to be on the line. This is brutal. The team, I can't believe that they're doing this again to us. Meanwhile, on the other side of the country, things are getting spicy in Vancouver. An 0-5-2 start, winless in their first 7, lost to the Carolina Hurricanes pretty brutally last night. The score was not indicative of that game. Like the Vancouver had a 20% expected goals, 27% expected goals in that one. I mean, what do you make of the situation in Vancouver?
I'll say this: some of these games have been close. Some of the games that could have been coin flips with like overtime and blown leads, like that. That's really it. When it comes to Vancouver, and I think the other thing about Vancouver is they've had some tough injury luck, right? Quinn Hughes has been out since I think it was back. He's been out at least a week now with a lower body injury. He might be out until at least the next few days. Travis Dermott's been out with a concussion. Brock Besser has been day to day. Like they've had some bad injury luck, so their roster hasn't exactly been, you know, healthy enough to you can get a good grasp of what this team is. But I think the concerning part is the blown leads. When you're struggling and you have the lead, you got to do what you can to ensure you don't blow it. Now, the game against Carolina, I did watch it because, watching the Leaf game, I was flipping back and forth between those two games. And this is a team that's just right now, the big boys need to step up more. I think, JT Miller has taken a lot of criticism and he's kind of been the target of Bruce Boudreau's, you know, criticism a little bit. He was moved from center to the wing. He's the one that's been kind of taking the licks when it comes to the team's, you know, the team struggles lately, and rightfully so. I mean, the guy's coming in on a brand new shiny contract, got paid decently, and you know, it's bad when, and I know this fan base is can be ruthless, There's a lot of similarities to the Leafs. When things are bad, they're not exactly going to be happy with it, and when you get a jersey thrown on the ice, ooh, that is brutal. Like that right there sends a clear cut message. I don't like when jerseys are thrown on the ice. I don't like when I see fans burning jerseys, which I have seen videos of that as well. But this situation in Vancouver is a delicate one, and I really do hope that they don't do anything rash. I don't think Bruce Boudreau is all to blame for everything, but I'm worried that a rash decision is going to be made, and something else. And look, this roster is not constructed properly either. Like this is not exact. It's not like was a team that was viewed as a contender and they're just playing absolutely terribly. This is a team that's trying to get back into even being in the playoff picture. And yeah, so I'm not. I don't want people to think that the Vancouver Canucks are an absolutely terrible team, but I don't want people to also think that they're a playoff team because they're stuck in that middle, and that's what the issue is.
Yeah, and they've been stuck in that middle for a long time. And when it comes to JT Miller, it's tough because like that contract technically doesn't even kick in until next year, and
Right.
he's already starting to lose the fan base. So the Canucks are in a tough spot, man, and it's almost to the point where at 0-5-2 on the year, is it getting away from you a little soon? You need to make a decision rather quick. Like, hey, are we gonna try and turn things around, or is it time to move forward and kind of think about the draft? Tank for Bedard. You've got some big pieces that you could trade away. I mean, you've got an expiring free agent and your captain, Bo Horvat. You might be able to get a pretty penny for Bo Horvat, I would think. Brock Besser's on a pretty good deal. You might be able to get something for him. If it's not too late to trade JT Miller, maybe you try and get something for that guy. Like, I really think that there's a conversation to be had there, how quickly they think they can turn things around. Because if it doesn't turn around in the next little bit, they'll just be chasing the whole year, much like they were last year. And the problem in Vancouver is it going to be too little too late? Like last year, they made the coaching change just too late. If they would have done it like 2 weeks earlier, they might have made the playoffs. Like they legitimately had the second best record in the National Hockey League from the day that they fired Travis Green and hired Bruce Boudreau onward, which is what makes it also just super confusing. It's a lot of the same players that are back with Brucey Boudreau, but for some reason they just can't get it going. There are some issues defensively, not only with the way that they're built, but also some health. So not only are they not great defensively, but also their best guys are out. You mentioned Quinn Hughes, Dermott is out, Tucker Poolman is out, but also Thatcher Demko hasn't looked himself either. This was a guy last year who was up in the top 5 in the league in goals saved above expected. So he's used to being under siege, but he's used to coming to, being their hero. Really, he's been their MVP the last couple of years. Hasn't really been the case this year. Hasn't really come to save the day as often as he has. And that's kind of what they've come to expect from him, and he's not providing that either. So there's a lot of holes and a lot of situations going on in Vancouver right now. I don't know. Like, how much longer of a leash can the Canucks give Bruce Boudreau, in your opinion?
I think you gotta give him a chance to right the ship a little bit here because now how much
Problem
time?
is, well, that's the thing. The problem is they
Yeah,
did that last year with Travis Green, and he just wasn't able to ever right the ship, and then the
yeah.
year just got away from them, and it was too late.
But
How
then
can
you're
you
gonna
fall into that exact same situation this time? History only repeats itself, right?
well, you need to look back. Like they were terrible in preseason. This is not something that's just a regular season thing. They were terrible in preseason.
Mhm.
So was this something wrong in training camp? Was the coaching staff not getting like you got to reevaluate everything that's happened and you got to decide soon. I think what manager needs to do is they need to make that decision soon in that they say we're going to back Bruce Boudreau. We think he can get the job done, or you got to send a message to the players and saying you better get something done. Otherwise, we're going to have to make another decision behind the net. But not just behind the net. We're also going to be looking at guys who are part of our
Bench.
core.
Behind the bench.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It can't just be like Bruce Boudreau being the scapegoat. I think you got to look at the whole entire thing, and that's what Rutherford should have been brought here to do, not just to say, you know what? Yeah, it's the coach. We got to get rid of the coach. No, this goes a lot deeper than the coach. And I think that message needs to be clear.
Well, the problem is the flawed roster that thinks they're
Yeah.
better than they are, I think.
Yeah.
Right? And the ownership demands playoffs, demands success, and has never wanted to go in the direction of an actual tear it down rebuild. And they've been stuck in kind of purgatory for the last decade, really, really ever since like the Kesslers and BXs of the world kind of were dealt away and moved on since Benning really took over. I know Frank Corrado was talking about how really, like, basically right after they had won the cup, the season after they got eliminated 4-0 in the playoffs. Mike Gillis wanted to strip it down and start a rebuild right then and there, and the Aquilini said no, they didn't want him to do that. So, it's been it's been like a long time where Vancouver fans have not been happy with the product, and they didn't strip it down. Like the Leafs were stuck in that forever. Same thing. There was that decade between like 05 and then finally they decide to bottom out and they get Marner, and then the following year they really bottom out, tank, and they end up getting Austin Matthews, and look where they are now, in a very good spot because they were able to tank, get really good players at the top of the draft. They panned out, and now they're one of the best teams in the NHL. The Canucks really haven't been able to do that. They also haven't gotten a lot of luck in the draft lottery. I think they've literally moved down each and every year. Someone jumps them, and they move down. But it's tough right now in Vancouver. I will say that it's not that much better. Well, it's better in Toronto, but also not as comfortable in Toronto as it should be. Maybe 7 games through the season, but they got a chance to right the ship. They're in California this week. They got San Jose on Thursday. They've got LA on Saturday, and then Sunday night they've got the Anaheim Ducks. So back-to-back Saturday, Sunday. Hopefully they can right the ship here with the California road trip. I was actually looking last year. They went on the California road trip, and the offense exploded. So hopefully they can do the same thing. I think they outscored like 15-4 on the California trip, came home, and then beat Colorado 8-3 the night they came back from the trip. So that was a big boost for them. Hopefully the same could occur here for the Maple Leafs. All right, that does it for today's show. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the podcast. You can subscribe to Locked On Leafs podcast on all podcast platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti, and follow the show at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode tomorrow, but until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On.